One of the most discussed topics in terms of politics is Brexit. Brexit has subconsciously become a part of our everyday life. We frequently hear about the consequences of Brexit and what impact it will have on the future. Even though it's very important, the question of why the Britons feel like they need Brexit is also a very interesting and an important aspect of Brexit. This certain question is discussed in the article Britain's Imperial Fantasies have Given Us Brexit by Gary Young. Already in the headline, they are given a certain discourse. Here, the sender Gary has established the opinion that Britain's imperial fantasies have given us Brexit. By adding the picture in the article, it emphasizes his opinion. The drawing illustrates the Britons carrying their pride and historical past, such as colonies, fleets, weapon army, and a huge territory, which actually consume 25% of the world. And the saying it goes like this: the sun never sets on the British Empire. This article is clearly subjective, which adds up to its genre by being a debating article where the sender debates the opinions and arguments behind Brexit. It's shown by Gary expressing his personal opinion. For example, here with the quote, there were some sound reasons for voting to leave the EU, although the campaign was rarely fought on them and wasn't won because of them. And here he expresses his subjective opinion on how the reason for voting Britain out of EU was on a wrong basis. He states that it's because of how the Britons prefer to live in the past rather than to learn from it, and how proud they are of their imperial past and want to relive it instead of facing the truth. And he also established himself as a part of Britain's population when he says here, our colonial past and the inability to come to terms with its demise gave many the impression that we are far bigger, stronger, and more influential than we really are. And here he uses words such as we and yeah, we are and we really are, to show that yeah, we are in this together, and this gives a more personal touch and a feeling that yeah, we are united and we are in this mess together. He also uses patriotism when he speaks about the love for the country, and you could say that the population was pursued it through distorted arguments and by the argumentation speaking to the love for the country or appealing to the love for the country. Language function he uses is the directive language function because he wants the reader to act in a certain way, and he wants the reader to change his opinion about Brexit. And so we can see it from Gary's point of view, and he argues his statements, and he also argues via metaphors here on line 48 to 49. He says that they assumed we could just walk away. We can't. They had no more plans for leaving than a dog chasing a car has to drive it. Furthermore, he uses different tricks of organization. For example, when he is referring back to the history and also mentions war a lot of times, and mentions that our society has changed. And he also uses common sense when he says that they think we can't, which is also appealing to Luca. He backs up his previous opinion when he says that May is no more personally to blame for the mess we are in with Europe than Anthony, and this is a comparison using historical facts and also appealing to Lucas once again. Furthermore, he uses a trustworthy person, Conrad Arjuna, to prove his point that the UK won't go back to the way it was, and this is expert knowledge. Another important point Gary wants to prove is how the historical consciousness plays a role in Britain's perception of themselves. They want to overlook the bad parts of history and emphasize the good ones to seem superior. This is, for example, shown when he says, and this nostalgia for a particular and peculiar version of our history preceded Brexit. This quote also works as a backup for his argument and in general his opinion about Brexit. So, all in all, Gary's intention with the article is to show the truth behind all the campaigns and maybe to turn away from Brexit to Brexit, and also to show that the Great Britain needs to find a new role in the world. And this quote in the back of the compendium, Britain has lost an empire and has not yet found a role, also shows that the empire has been lost and it's not coming back. Because of that, the country seems to be drifting instead of moving forwards, and they try to be like they once were. In my opinion, Gary does a great job convincing the reader of his opinion. I couldn't agree more on both how ridiculous Brexit is, but also how the Britons voted to leave the EU on the wrong foundation due to the need for to relive their imperial past. And I think Brexit will turn into regret, and it will have consequences for both Britain but also the EU.